Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with Kev to celebrate, to reminisce on Preston 0, Aston Villa 3, and Aston Villa booking their trip to Wembley to face Crystal Palace in the semi-finals of the FA Cup. Smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and help us on the road to 6,000 subscribers. And keep your comments flying in. We've got loads coming in already. And Julie is in the chat already, mate. She can't wait to hear you sing us a song again, Kev. So what is it going to be?
Do you want a bit of Bublé, a bit of Boyzone, a bit of Taylor Swift? You give me a shout. I'm all ears. Yeah, I'm all ears.
We're taking requests now.
I'll have to do a separate YouTube channel for that, though. I think
you are, mate. You've got, I think it's approaching 40 or 50,000 views on TikTok,
unbelievable.
30,000 on X, and I don't know, 2,000 or 3,000 on YouTube. But
yeah, I don't read the comments when I'm trying to give my self-esteem a boost. I'll tell you that.
yeah. I was going to say I'd stay clear from the comments, but you know, it's all good fun. It is all good fun.
It is. I knew what I was getting into when I gave you the green light to release it. I knew exactly what was coming. Yeah.
Absolutely. Good evening to everyone, though, who is in the chat. Kevin, we will beat Palace. Wembley's made for Villa and squad depth will be key. Duncan, Wembley, here we come. Patty in the chat, singing and dancing tonight. Absolutely. We all know what happened at Selhurst last month, but the decisions that went against us that night were a disgrace, and 4-1 was silly in the end. We can beat Palace, as Sai. We're going to get into that as well. 5 wins in a row, 4 clean sheets, and 3 on the spin. We're definitely getting into that. And good evening to you, James, in the chat. Matty as well. Lewis in the chat. Great to have you in. Make sure you all hit that like button as well. Stephen, Adamski, Gary in the chat. Alan's in the chat. So many people to reflect on a great victory for Aston Villa today. So we all know the score. I did my match reaction. Have a little listen to that or watch of that in terms of the summary. But obviously we want to take a bit more of a deeper dive, get some opinion in terms of overall performances and overall kind of themes from the game. I guess, first of all, the first thing to discuss is the main man, Marcus Rashford, on the scoreline, not just once, but twice, Kev, and a fantastic performance from Mr. Rashford.
Well, I think it was funny, wasn't it? Because obviously in the first half, a couple of free kicks that weren't the best, and you can probably think, oh God, is people are going to get on his back a little bit, and he got a little bit of grief for England. Even though I thought, as we discussed on the pod last week, that I thought he did okay. I wouldn't say it was an unbelievable performance from him, but I'll tell you what, who cares really about that? Because the confidence that he'll get now for getting that first goal, and look, he talked about it in the analysis, but the way he kind of held his run back, that was obviously really intelligent play to, sometimes you do want to be trying to get on the last man and, just beat the offside trap, and tap one in, but actually that was a clever one to give Digne a good option to cut it back, and one became 2 quite quickly, obviously. And I was actually surprised. I thought it would be Asensio that would take the penalty after.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But we've got some good options for that now, obviously, haven't we? And great to see him take it. Didn't even look at the ball once from a video that I've seen now as well afterwards. So he just looked straight ahead the whole time, which is pretty good, knowing where his feet are, which is good. And he's off the mark for Aston Villa with a brace. Maybe he's going to go on an Asensio type run and only score 2 now in the games that he scores, but brilliant for Villa, because we've all needed him. If we want to try and, I think, catch this fire, so we've caught fire a little bit. If we want to try and get this fire burning even brighter at the end of the season, we're going to need our players to be confident. And that's been a little bit of a monkey on his back. He's played well, got back in the England squad, quite a few assists, linked up really well with Asensio and a few of the players. But this now, getting a couple of goals in an FA Cup quarter-final, taking us, basically helping us get to Wembley, Yeah, it's brilliant stuff, and I'm really buzzing for him. Obviously, where he's come from 2-3 months ago to be where he's at now. I mean, could he have imagined to be in a Champions League quarter final, with the second leg at home and with Unai
Mm.
Emery as manager, an FA Cup semi final against a team that isn't a traditional Big Six team, although we'll come on to Palace, I'm sure, shortly in terms of the threat and the problems we faced, and knocking on top 5 in the league when he couldn't get in the Man United squad, and he was being, picked behind a 62-year-old coach in the mind of the manager. So
Mm.
it's been a brilliant renaissance for him.
Absolutely. What I did think in the first half was he was making the runs, but we weren't finding him. There were so many times where he'd make the run in that right hand channel or even left hand channel, and even like runs to the front post. I remember one. I think it might be Matty Cash that he made a Rashford made great front post and Cash put it across, and it obviously got blocked out for a corner. But there were so many of those occasions in that first half, or when Morgan Rogers maybe cut back to keep possession instead of going for the pass and putting Rashford in behind, that maybe they had a word at half time and said, look, if he makes that run, put him in, because he'll turn their defence. And that's kind of what seemed to happen in that second half in particular. So I agree. It wasn't necessarily his best first half, but I think the second half he was making the same runs, but we were just using him more. And it was kind of epitomised not by the goal necessarily, but the chance after his first goal and before his second goal where Ramsey should have scored when he ran in behind.
Brilliant.
And and he faced up the defender, beat him once, then beat him again, held his run because he saw the two. I think it might have been Rogers went in ahead of it and then cut it back for Ramsey, who should have scored. But shows you the intelligence that he's got, shows you the quality that he's got on the ball, whether he wants to go in behind or whether he wants to receive it to feet. He's got that technical ability, and if you can match that with his confidence, which is hopefully improving every game, we have got a hell of a player on our hands for the running at the end of the season.
Yeah, and you've also got to give, I think, a huge amount of credit. I think someone might have said in the chat, Emery's Kingdom of Aston, 150 years, 1874, up the UTFV. Delighted for Rashford and the faith the recruitment team showed in him. Just a little word on the recruitment team. Great comment there. But look at the January window. Notoriously a difficult market to shop in. Everybody says it. There's no point in January. You're wasting your time. You're bringing in the likes of of a Simon Dawkins late at night. But we've had some issues over the years. A Borja Baston. To bring in a player like Tisassi, who made a massive difference to the defence and has been great, I think, since he's come in. Asensio, don't need to say much, 7 goals in 9 games now, but what an impact he's had, key goals in key games. Rashford obviously has had key moments in games, and obviously now scoring. Garcia, I think, has been brilliant for a guy from the second division in Spain, and of course Marlon's not quite. I'm sure we might come on to him shortly, but he's not quite made it. But to get 4 out of 5 that have worked out so far is unbelievable ratios, and Rashford would have been a risk. Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, I said it myself. I don't know if I said it on a pod. I definitely said it in the chat. That I don't think I said it on a pod. Actually, I think it had been announced before. I think we'd even had a chance to discuss it really. But my initial reaction with Rashford was no thanks. He's tired. His attitudes are not right. There's got to be something in it. And the more and more I've obviously seen him at Villa and I've seen his application, his attitude, then I start seeing things about other players leaving Man United, and maybe it's them that's the toxicity and not the players. And now I'm just delighted that we've got him. Him and Ramsey's options on the left hand side is brilliant. And I just think you've got to give real credit to that recruitment team that has sometimes had a little bit of grief. But if you look at the back end of the year, what's happened to Onana? He's not done much this season. Barkley's injured. We're not playing Matson. Where's Lewis Dobbin? Where's Illing Jr.? Where's Berenashea? But it's true, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There was
Like, why did we let him go? Yeah, absolutely.
A bit of grief, and now obviously I think they could look back and go, you know what, that was really good scouting, really good decision making, and certainly bolstered the squad.
100%. It's difficult, isn't it? Because they're all going to, because he played centre forward today, he's obviously going to get compared with Ollie Watkins. Now, We know they've got different qualities. And it was a shame, wasn't it, when Watkins came on and he missed those two absolutely brilliant chances.
Yeah.
But it is interesting because you can clearly see the attributes that Marcus Rashford has are just. I guess that's why maybe Manchester United fans and some pundits get so frustrated with him, because you can see the quality that he has. He doesn't just have the ability that Ollie Watkins has got in terms of chasing down defenders and working really hard. He's got the touch. He's got the ability to beat a man. He's got the vision to put a player through. He's literally got everything about his game. And like to see a level of player that is at that level has that ability, and particularly how he links up with Marco Asensio, who has that kind of ability as well, is just a treat to watch for Aston Villa. It is crazy, isn't it? Like I keep thinking, if Emery can just unlock that potential that Marcus Rashford has, then it would be a real kind of coup to sign him for that £40 million if we're to do the deal at the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the way he kind of skips past players as well is
Yeah.
it's a bit of a throwback. He kind of fronts them up and he'll just dash inside or outside, whatever. And he generally seems to get quite a bit of success no matter who he's up against, at least to get
It,
half a
it,
yard.
it reminds me of, you remember Ronaldo, the real one,
Yeah, R9.
um,
Yeah,
R9, when he used to front up defenders in the box, and just
yeah,
that speed he had over 3 yards, he just drops his shoulder and goes. Like Rashford's got that ability in him. He absolutely
yeah.
has, and it's frightening to see.
I say this to my son all the time in football. I'm like, how often do you see? You know what kids are like. You obviously got a lad as well, and my daughter's not quite practicing her skills yet, although she's really getting there with football. My lad, they'll see stuff on YouTube and they're doing rainbow flicks and all sorts of skills, and I'm like, you watch the players that are effective in the Premier League. A Morgan Rogers, in terms of going past players, Marcus Rashford, obviously, a Matoma, plenty of other players that do it. It often just is a feint, a fake, a
Yeah.
drop of the shoulder, a change of momentum, and it's using slow down, speed up, and being clever with it. And I think we've got some real great. I think Ramsey's really good at it as well when he's on it in our team. You've got Ramsey, you've got Marlon, who's can go past players, and I think we've got some real assets now. I was thinking, imagine. There's a few comments about it. I'm sure we'll come on to it as well. You've alluded to it there with Watkins, but imagine if Watkins went on a purple patch now. With like 2 months to go, when you've got Asensio, Rashford, Ramsey, Bailey, Marlon, you know what I'm saying? Everything behind. Imagine Rodgers, of course. Imagine if he then started to score like a goal a game, or one of his ones when he did like 5 away games in a row. And what was it that season when he scored 3 in the first half of the season and then like 13 or 14 in the second half under Unai? So that would be unbelievable. That's when you are getting all your dreams coming true, isn't it?
100%, mate. 100%. Loads of comments talking about Rashford. 40 million well spent compared to Onana. 50 million. It could well be. Sai saying Ollie will start a scoring run against starting at Brighton. Absolutely, I hope so. I really do. I really do. Kevin said, funny thing is though, Watkins is likely to score a difficult chance and win us the cup. Absolutely. That's the way it goes with him. Absolutely, the way it goes. Now, another player that I wanted to focus on, Mr. Boubacar Kamara, and I know he's your favourite player, or one of them. You've got your chant for him. But Sai says, Bouba, again, outstanding today. Matty, have to sign him up ASAP. Also, Sai says, Villa, please hurry it up with Bouba's new contract. Just got that class in midfield, hasn't he, mate? And I know it was Preston, but they made it difficult in that midfield. But just his ability to be able to take the ball under pressure, to kind of use his body shape to get out, to use his body to get out of trouble. He can play it first time. He can turn a man. He can play penetrating passes. He can drop into right back and allow other players to go forward. Just so important to how we want to play.
Yeah, as we know, as we call him now, Boubacar. He is the midfield man. He comes from Marseille. He was great again, but I don't think for him it matters whether we're playing against Real Madrid of of R9 back in the day, or playing against, the Puskás and Di Stefano Real Madrid team, or that Milan team of the early 90s, or Man City of the last 3 or 4 years. I just think he's quality, whoever the opposition is, because he's a quality player. And yet, do you know what? What pleased me today? Listen, we're not playing a Premier League team, and we're playing a team that are not in the the top 10 of the Championship. So you've really got to fancy Villa. There is really no reason why you're not going to win that game, and I don't think there should have been any excuses at all. But their home record's been decent. They've not been beaten at home for the best part of
15 games, I think it was.
Games, yeah. And not conceding more than 2 goals for ages as well. So for Villa today, to perform like that, with the first half being a little bit difficult, of course they were pretty narrow. They didn't go on the offense much. Obviously made it difficult for us. We got in some good positions and made some bad decisions. And it's, I was chatting to someone at the gym earlier about the Villa, and I was saying today for me was almost like the vindication. Not that we need vindication for what Unai's done, but the vindication of those people that are like, oh, it's pedestrian, it's slow, we need to be better, because we just kept to the game plan. We kept it calm. We kept the passing going, and eventually we created chances, and it should have been probably 5.
You knew they would tire out. You knew that they could not keep. Yeah, they wouldn't have been able to keep that pressing and that organisation up for that amount of time. And it was telling that it was on 59, 60 minutes that the first goal happened, because they put everything into that first half, that first 60 minutes, and then it was right that they dropped.
Yeah, and also it's interesting. Was it against West Ham that we scored a second goal really quickly and it was ruled out? Wasn't it?
Yes.
It was Rodgers and Watkins combination, wasn't it? And it got ruled out for so wasn't it a slight offside in the run? I'm sure it was, wasn't it? We scored once, and then it was the second goal, wasn't it?
Brentford away, we did. Brentford away.
Yeah, it was ruled out, wasn't it? The second one.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But I remember thinking today, oh my God, it's like the first goal's gone in, and then the belief and confidence just gone right up, and literally the next attack we've basically scored again. And that's the thing with Villa. Like I've noticed that we're very much a confidence team, which is why it's ominous for other teams around us now that we've done that 5-4-3, 5 wins in a row, 4 clean sheets out of the last 5, and 3 in a row in terms of clean sheets. And that is ominous for everybody else, because if we're starting to catch a bit of form and the confidence is high, then that's when we can really hurt teams. We talk a lot about, whether we can keep it going, And Unai said in the week, didn't he, about last season and how we basically ran out of steam and we had loads of injuries and we sort of
Yeah. I mean, we said that, and you can bet your bottom dollar that Unai Emery would have noticed it as well. So and you could tell right at the end of the season he was trying to talk the players up, and it was interesting that he mentioned that we lost heavily to Crystal Palace, because that would have been eating up at him, because I know we'd secured Champions League football. But he didn't want to get beat 5-0 in the last game of the season, So it would have, exactly, and that was why he would have put it down to that, that kind of fatigue and just just trying to by hook or by crook get over the line, and that was what we did. But yeah, absolutely right, and Boubacar Kamara is massive for us if we can keep him fit going into the last 9, 10, 11 games. Yuri Tielemans the same. It was good that he got a 20-minute rest at the end of the game, and Amadou Onana came on and looked quite sharp as well. And that's the key. Competition in this side now. Players have got to come in and make an impact. And I think that was a big thing for Jacob Ramsey, because we've seen kind of the old Ramsey back. Running at players, sharp control, not sort of dilly-dallying on the ball, not cutting back, and he got his goal today. He probably should have had a hat-trick as well, and Ramsey's looking really sharp at the minute.
Yeah, I thought it was really actually great to see like a local lad, obviously, who's from like around the corner in Great Bar. Remember that it was all those years ago when, going back 5-6 years ago, it felt really good to be a Villa fan again after the doldrums of the Premier League and then the difficulties in the Championship. And we obviously had Dean Smith as manager, great bar fella. We had obviously Jack our boy Jack, Villa since he's 6 years old, and Jacob was that young lad coming through, and he's still there now. Obviously, you've got Morgan Rogers, who's local, Lou Barry on the books and all that, but for the way he's established himself, and he's had his injury troubles, for him now to be playing, I totally agree with that. I thought it was his best game of the season as well. I mean, obviously he should have scored that one chance, but he kept going. And actually, that goal was a little bit reminiscent of that great goal he scored against Norwich a couple of seasons back. Remember when he kind of bustled his way through and smashed it with his left foot? And he kind of, and I was saying to my lad, look at the way he takes it on the turn and he drives forward and he gets his body across and then gets it at his feet. Great finish, hits it hard, low, and just delighted for him because, he's one of those players where I think even in the summer, people were saying maybe it's time to get rid of Ramsey and move Ramsey on. And
I know.
He's such an asset.
I think we've raised that question.
I personally have always thought, when he's on it and he's such an asset, I think he's such a dynamic dribbler with the ball. He gives you that kind of direct running style, and he's difficult to stop. And if he's coming at you, and Rodgers is, and Rashford is, then you've got to be careful as a defence. And yeah, it's a shame actually because I think he probably should have scored that one before, did he? When Rashford cut him across.
Yeah, should have scored that one. He had a chance right at the end as well. So yeah, he was really good. And it is really important to have. I mean, I listed off the attacking options that we've got now. You've got Watkins, Rashford, Marlon, Bailey, Ramsey, Rodgers, Asensio. I've probably missed someone out there. But it's just absolutely crazy. And Rodgers probably wasn't at his best in terms of today. Out on the right again, was trying to get into the middle, was much better second half when the game opened up. But, that's when Ramsey steps in and has a good game. Asensio was in and out. You can see his cleverness on the ball and you see his runs that he makes, but wasn't quite as effective as he has been in previous. Still made some brilliant passes, but other players come in now and can step up. It's not just down to one or two players. So,
I agree.
That's so important. That's so important for us. So yeah, and Emery's got that luxury now. Bailey wasn't even in the squad today. Barkley's coming back to fitness, and Disasi was cup tied. I mean, it's just it's frightening. He didn't have to name two goalkeepers on the bench today.
I know, amazing. And if you think about it as well, like players lately that have performed well, obviously Asensio, you mentioned, didn't have an amazing game today. He was tidy, neat, all that kind of stuff. Rodgers, again, wasn't as influential as he has been. I think McGinn's been pretty good in the last few months. Obviously, only got a few minutes. Watkins, obviously, is our main goal scorer. All of those guys are out the team today. The team today that actually, the ones that really stood out, well, you've got Kamara, who's injured for pretty much the first half of the season. You've got Mings, I thought, and Konza were great, but Mings obviously missed a lot of the season as well at the back. I thought was tremendous. And then you've obviously got Rashford, who's a new signing, and Jacob Ramsey's been injured. So you are getting a situation now where we're starting to share the burden, share the load, and that's essential because not every week he's Rodgers. We've talked about him. He's inconsistent because he's a young guy. He's new to this level of football. But we've got so many weapons now that it is as simple as one week it'll be, option A, the second week it'll be option C, and you'll be able to mix it and rotate it. We've seen success from the bench, obviously, haven't we, a few times this season? And today the bench was different. It was more to just kind of to rest, rest the players that obviously that had started because we've got a really, really busy schedule coming up. But it feels like it's building nice. 5 wins on the row. I know it's a mixture of competitions, and look at where we are. Yeah, I think it could be our strongest bench ever, Duncan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we brought the subs that we brought on: John McGinn for Yuri Tillemans, Amadou Onana for Marco Asensio, Daniel Marlon for Morgan Rogers, Ollie Watkins for Marcus Rashford, and Andres Garcia for Matty Cash. It's stupid, isn't it? It's absolutely stupid. You did mention there about the centre-back partnership, and we've got a few comments in. Matt says, Mings and Konsa have a brilliant partnership. Duncan said, Konsa and Mings seem to be this... the centre-backs has to be noted. Sai says, interesting to hear Mings has been playing through the pain barrier. I think you wanted to comment on that. I mean, he's made such a difference to our defence, and you can hear his voice. You can always hear his voice saying, well done, good, all that, organising, pointing. He's actually getting better at the releasing the ball quicker. Again, opposition that we're playing against noted, but Konsa's a better defender for whatever reason, when he's playing alongside Tyrone Mings, Matty Cash seems a better defender when Conser's on his game and he can have a bit more security. This he's been fantastic, hasn't he? What a leader he is at the back. You know, gets criticised maybe from other teams that don't really recognise, other team supporters don't really recognise how important he is. But it's no coincidence that our defence has looked so much more solid with him being back in it.
I really think that, it's crazy to say it, right? Considering, but I think if everyone's fully fit, my first choice defender would be Tyrone Mings. He'd be my first choice defender, subject to fitness and all that kind of stuff. And that doesn't mean I don't absolutely love. I mean, God, I feel like a kid at Christmas. I love Torres. I love him. I think he's quality footballer. Totally changed the way we play in the last couple of years. I love Konza, Rolls Royce. So proud of him for England. I think Disasi's been tremendous.
He has, hasn't he? He's like a cult hero, isn't he?
Yeah, all four of our centre backs. It's like they're my kids. I love them all. I love them all dearly. Different times. Some of them piss me off, but you get my point. Yeah, but I think Mings, the difference that he has made to that team in terms of the leadership, the physicality, and then to read the report that obviously today that came out in the Telegraph that's been widely sort of publicised, but that he's been hardly fit, basically like half fit, and wasn't sure he was going to be able to get through the season. Struggling to get, was it beyond sort of like, I can't remember the percent, it was 65, 70%, whatever the percentage was in terms of his ability to kind of maximise his body. And then, like, literally 2 minutes later, Torres gets injured and he's basically back in the team.
I know.
And
yeah.
it's testament to him in terms of his character. And I think he alluded to that in the comment. He's like, this is obviously what he's all about. And he wants to, to put it all in. But my God, I mean, he's got injuries, I think, still ongoing. And yet today he starts and plays the whole match against our quarterfinal opponents in Preston. I do think we might see him rotated a little bit in terms of the rest of the season.
Yeah,
but it's going to be inevitable. But as I've just said before, the options we've got to come in. I mean, I don't think anybody would be upset if it was a Disasi Torres partnership. I'll be delighted. Or if it was, Torres Mings, or whatever. I wouldn't care if any of them played together. Obviously, you get the left and right dynamic. You get my point. But all of them quality centre backs. And a perfect example is Crystal Palace in the next round. I think we'd all rather have Mings rather than Torres against Mateta. And having him fit gives you the options.
Yeah, he's great, and you can hopefully see him getting that fitness back or that sharpness back every game. I don't think he'll ever be a 100% fit, but I think he'll be back to being sharp. 32 years of age now. I think someone mentioned who was it? Adamski might have said he does something insane every other match, though. I think that's just what he's about. And Gary said he's back, but he feels one knee injury away from finishing his career. And you do have that intake of breath, don't you? Every time he goes down or every time he goes in for a tackle, you kind of think, "Oh no, it could be the end." But look, I think he's just grasping every moment that he can out of it, and that's when players see him with that example and what he did to get himself back fit and what he put himself through. It has to be an example, doesn't it, to them? It has to be an inspiration. It's not like preaching or saying, "Oh, you should do this, you should do that." It's just showing people what can be done.
Yeah, it is, and I just think it's brilliant for him in terms of that whole Tyrone Mings story, from being a mortgage advisor and only really properly getting his career going at 19, 20 years old, to that famous photo at the train station in his full Villa kit after winning the playoff final against Derby, to now being in a Champions League quarter-final, an FA Cup semi-final. I was picturing the dressing room afterwards, and the caption was like FA Cup semi-finalists, and I'm looking at thinking, this is Mings and Konza, who are our centre-half partnership when we basically stayed up on the last day of the season. And that is testament, again, probably to the recruitment team back then in terms of what we did. But you are right. Every time he goes down, it reminds me of a little bit of chuckling to myself. Like when your kids were little, like you got little like toddlers, and they fall over, and you're like, "Oh God, is it a bad one?" Oh, they're all right. They're all right. It feels like that. Anyone else goes down, obviously players get bad injuries, but with him, we know, is it just one bad, landing of your foot, getting stuck in the turf? But I don't know. I mean, if he's come back to Premier League football, then his knees have got to be in decent enough condition to be able to come back. And they do say sometimes he can be stronger. I don't know the full condition of either of his knees and what the ligaments are saying, but if you can just have a bit of luck on his side, look, even getting back, I think, to football after what happened to, I think he's probably. I know modern medicine's better than than it was obviously years ago in terms of the chances of getting back, but if they could get a bit of silverware with Villa, like McGinn as well, I just think it'd be unbelievable for that kind of that story, and it would be if it was to. I think Way's obviously moving at the moment. Obviously, he's on the committee, isn't he, for the future tournaments? And he speaks so well. He's very erudite and intelligent, and I think he's someone you can see going on to great things even after he finishes his playing career.
Yeah, I can see him being like PFA representative for the players, and like the head of PFA or some ambassador in the FA, definitely, because he speaks so well and he answers so well. So yeah, I do just have to mention Lee Dixon seems to get mentioned all the time now on our podcast, but it was so good to have him not commentating co-commentating on our game. And so
he was annoying me.
He would have given the man of the match to the Preston, Preston player. He would have definitely. Even though the goalkeeper let in 3 goals and dived the wrong way for Rashford's penalty, coming in for his first game, he did so well. I have to give him the man of the match. That's what Lee Dixon would have said.
I have to. I like the way he looked at Rashford before the penalty and tried to give him a bit of answer. So that's enough for me.
But you mentioned glory for Tyrone Mings, John McGinn, and Unai Emery in the Aston Villa team, and standing in the way of the FA Cup final is Crystal Palace. Before we get into that, do you not think the draw was a little bit weird?
Yeah, it was like they'd done it around someone's house, didn't it? You remember on Noel's house party? This is going to age me now. Anyone in the comments remember Noel's house party when they used to? Was it NTV when they'd have the cameras up and they go, anyway, hello, Joe Jones from Kettering, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm on my sofa. All I needed then is just to pull out a bag of balls. No puns, please. And what's he doing? Joe Hart's got the balls on his lap.
No, it was so weird. It's like, going on? Could they not get the thing to like stir the like the what's it? I don't know what it would be called. The cauldron, for want of a better phrase, to put the balls in and then pull them out. It was like, there's the bag, mate. Just take the balls out of the bag. It was so weird. It was so amateurish. I don't get it.
Do you reckon it's all these cuts at the BBC? You reckon they couldn't? Because I'm sure my kids have got like a bingo game where you've got one of the things where you put the balls in and spin it around. They could have borrowed that if they'd just put a tweet out.
The pot. Sorry, yes, the pot.
Yeah, the pot. I like the cauldron better. It's kind of like maybe they would. Surely they'd have a cauldron left over from that Merlin TV show, wouldn't they? From years ago. Yeah, it was weird, but then I was thinking, I don't know. Do you know what? It was funny. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I didn't really care who we got. Because you could argue a negative, you could put a negative spin on it or a positive spin on all of them. But I think at the end of the day, you've got to win the games, haven't you? Get it to you get, and at some point, you're going to play a decent team. But again, if you look at this draw this season for us, you start looking at fate. Obviously we had 2 home draws against West Ham and Spurs that weren't probably in good positions at that point. And then obviously we had Cardiff and Preston. You take those draws, and then we've got a Palace team who are, let's not beat around the bush, they're below us in the league. Right, we've got more pedigree, we've got a better squad, but it's on neutral territory, and they won't have the advantage which is a huge advantage for them against most teams, particularly us, of Selhurst Park and that crowd. So, if you would have taken it all day long, if someone had said to you, semi-final against Crystal Palace, to play a worse Man City team in 10 years, or Forest, obviously in the final. So yeah, it's I think this is a kind of situation where it's a carpe diem moment for the team now, and I really hope Unai, after getting it wrong against them a few times, does have a plan which actually can get the better of a Crystal Palace team outside of Villa Park.
Yeah, well, Rachel said Emery overthinks Palace and Glasner, and that's one of the issues. James said it's the lowest team left in the cup. He'd take that all day long, similar to you, but Matty says, in all honesty, Palace was the last team he wanted to get. Stephen says the same. Rachel says, me too. But Duncan said, we'll beat Palace on the big, wide Wembley pitch. And I'm happy with that. But like you said, Matt, I would have taken, anyone. You get to the semi-final, you're going to face a team that's good. You're going to face a team that they'll look at Villa and say, we've got an opportunity to beat them as well. And therefore, it's one of those where both teams will say, we've got players who can hurt the opposition, who can win, but I do fancy us in terms of taking the lessons from that defeat, particularly Unai Emery, particularly and the players, to go on and win, and to get into this position now. It would be just such a waste now to not take advantage of it. And yeah, I think he's got the tools at his disposal to be able to manage the squad and to make us really, really kind of threatening and a real issue for Crystal Palace in that game. We've got a few games in between, quite a few games in between. We could be talking about a Champions League semi-final as well to come if all goes well against Paris Saint-Germain. So such an exciting time. But yeah, I am pleased we've got Chris. I'm not. Look, I said I wasn't bothered about any team, but I think we can beat Crystal Palace definitely. They've got players that can hurt us, but I'm confident we can beat them.
Well, we've got players that can hurt them, and we were
Exactly.
a little bit unlucky in that away game, weren't we? Because really, like, we had a goal disallowed that should have been disallowed, and obviously we had Olsen in goal second half, and there was a few things I think that kind of went against us. And 5-0 last game of last season was a bit of an anomaly because we'd already qualified, and I think that by that point they was just switched off. I mean, it probably will be in the players' heads a little bit, but you've got to fancy your chances. You really have, and it's a neutral ground. It is, as Duncan says, it's a big, wide pitch, and we've got some players that have got real experience. I mean, one thing Palace haven't got is they haven't got much experience in terms of big games like this. And we've got players in our squad that have got a lot of experience in that. I mean, when I said today, Rashford, he's won it twice before. God, there you go. I saw Asensio has won a few Spanish Cups, and we've got some big players in that team now that obviously have won trophies, and a bit more experience sometimes can really sort of stand you in good stead on the big occasions. Sometimes teams kind of freeze a little bit, can't they? I thought they were great against Fulham, by the way, in terms of the
They
highlights.
did. They played well. Yeah, I thought Fulham would win that, but Palace just got the tactics perfectly right.
Yeah, we need to deal with it with the threats that we haven't dealt with in the past. Eze, Sarr, Mateta. If we can deal with those three, and hope Adam Wharton's got COVID or something, because he was so good. He was so good against us. He was so. I mean, I would love us to sign him. By the way, if
Yeah, he was
Kamara,
brilliant.
if
He's another
Kamara,
one who moves the ball on quickly, doesn't he? Wins the ball, moves it on
yeah,
quickly. But
great player.
Tielemans-esque in terms of the way you can just see the pass early and then just play it. But yeah, I'm confident we can get that right. Like you say, it's a different atmosphere, different game, totally different setup to what they're used to at Selhurst Park, and a night game at Selhurst Park and all that kind of stuff. And Emery changing and tinkering with the tactics, I don't think he would do that again. And yeah, the situation will just be totally different. The occasion will be totally different with Unai Emery taking it against Glasgow, at Wembley. Totally different situation.
Yeah, totally different. Totally different. And
Yeah.
I think we have to back ourselves. We've got Unai Emery in charge, mate. He is the absolute king, isn't he?
Andrew says, written in the stars, 150th season, we go all the way up the Villa. Alex is in the chat as well. Greetings from Miami, not Nottingham. Yes, we know, mate. We know you've got a good name, though. Great name, great win, but got to table the Wembley trip. So many critical games approaching up the Villa. Yes, exactly. Now, one thing, the Man City game will be moved now. I don't know when that will be moved to, because we were due to play them on the Monday night, the 28th of April, but the FA Cup semi-final is either going to be Saturday the 26th or Sunday the 27th. So be interesting to see when they move that to. I guess they'll have to see what happens in the Champions League, won't they?
Yeah. Yeah, and this is crazy, isn't it? To think all the things that are happening that could affect other things. That might count against us with the fixture backlog, but let's not forget today we said it. Watkins didn't start, McGinn didn't start. Matson, Bailey, Marlon, Disassi, Barkley, Onana. It's a pretty decent team. That pretty decent team. Yeah, it's also interesting. I think there's some good chatting about obviously who people want in the comments, and A lot of talk about Forest, and someone's asked actually when was the last All Midlands FA Cup final. Well, I actually know this. I researched it early because I was thinking the same thing. It's 1948-49. Wolves beat Leicester 3-1. So, I mean, you think about the Midlands as the size of it and
There
the
you go.
team. Yeah, there you go. Boom. Cheers, Duncan, for corroborating that. But I mean, that's an absolute. That's like, that's almost the war, isn't it? Basically, that's how long it's been for. You think you've had Liverpool, Everton ones, you've had Man United, Man City ones, obviously loads of all London ones. It would be great, I think, for Midlands football to have. You imagine Forest finishing the Champions League position to get to the FA Cup final and lose to Villa, who finish in the Champions League positions and win the Cup and the Champions League, and Blues win the Virtue Trophy and Walsall get promoted from League Two. What the Baggies all Cov get promoted as well. Like it's a good time to be a Midlands football fan, and we are, as it should be, flying the flag in terms of the elite team. And yeah, it's great to see. Great to see. But
Yeah.
I
So,
I do think we'll get. I think we'll get City. I don't think they'll lose that.
well, that's what I was going to say to you. Do you fancy an Aston Villa versus Manchester City final, or do you fancy an Aston Villa versus Nottingham Forest final?
I'd rather play Forest every day of the week. Again, talk about my big point about big teams. Man City have done this before loads of times, and they were pretty good second half. Although I've got to say this. We've talked a bit about on the pod, as we have recently, about can we get into form at the right time? The 5 wins in a row point, of course. Bournemouth second half were really poor, really poor. I felt that I didn't see much of the first half, but I felt Bournemouth I would have offered a lot more, obviously at home against City, and they didn't really have any chances hardly in that second half. City played well, don't get me wrong, second half, but it's considering how swashbuckling they've been at times this season. And then the day before, Brighton and Forest, who obviously Brighton have been in great form lately. Forest have obviously been flying. It was probably the worst game of football.
Oh, it's such a snore fest.
It was
Yeah.
the I've probably ever seen. And both teams look devoid of ideas. And I just thought, you know what? If these teams are starting to go on the wane a little bit, and we're starting to get a bit better, then that could bode well for some of these games we've got coming up against a Brighton, against a Forest.
Yeah.
Again, Newcastle won the Carabao Cup. Maybe they might not be. I don't want to assume and get too overconfident, but it could well work out for us.
Look, I said this before a few weeks ago. We have the best squad in terms of options and players coming back to fitness at the right time of a number of teams in this league. You've got, Rachel said, teams will start to fade now. I do think Nottingham Forest have got enough points in the bag, similar to us last season. But I think, the teams like the Bournemouth, Fulham, Brentford, Brighton even, you could see them start to really, as it comes to crunch time, start to sort of drop in their performance levels, and we can take advantage 100%. But to get a trophy, just to finish up in a second, to get a trophy, FA Cup, Champions League, you never know. But FA Cup would be just absolutely phenomenal, wouldn't it? 1957 was the last time we won this competition. And
I know.
I mean, everyone knows I live in Newcastle. There was quotes of 100,000 people, 200,000 people, even saying that 300,000 people were in Newcastle city centre and the town moor, the huge park, seeing the parade yesterday. And it just makes me want to have that this season for Aston Villa, even more than ever. And to win the FA Cup would just be so special. To not winning it for so many years and keep saying it. We're going to win it this year. We're going to win it this year. When are we going to win this FA Cup? 1957, Kev, was the last time we won the FA Cup. We have to, we've got such a great chance this year. It'd be so special to get it done.
Well, it would be. I think if I think about recent times, I mean, I think in my lifetime of the last 180 years, jokes like 44 I am now. I know you don't believe it, but there was not a fat light in the 80s, I don't think, that I know. I think in the 90s we got to a couple of quarters. I remember Liverpool beating us 3-0 when we were in a yellow kit, and the year 2000 we got to the final, but we didn't turn up in that game at all. And of course Chelsea were a better team than us in terms of, obviously, they'd already started to get the money in, and had a few, they had the Hullits and Vialis and those type of players, and Di Matteo and that, and so we didn't really perform in that game. Obviously, we got to the semis, I think, when John Terry should have been sent off about 2010, maybe, I think, when he did a really bad tackle on Milner. I think we lost narrowly in that semi. And then obviously we got to the final in 2015 again. Really a relegation-threatened team, and we somehow got to the final with a couple of good performances. I think we got baggies in one of the rounds, and obviously a great performance on the day to beat Liverpool. But it feels like this time we're a proper team, a strong, quality squad. You know, we've proven that by the Champions League qualification and performances. We're up in the upper echelons of the league. Admittedly, positions not where we want to be, but points-wise, we're not far off. This feels like the chance that we've been waiting for. And as you know, Richard, somebody's got to win it. That's how the competition works. I don't know if the people in the comments aren't aware of this, but at the end of it all, one team has to win it. And you know what? When you're down to the last 4 of that competition now and the last 8 of the Champions League, you got a pretty good chance there, I would say. Pretty good chance.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Just to finish up, and it's not by any means a kind of a last shout or less important, but we talked a bit about the Villa women's side and how sort of it was all doom and gloom the other day, but they got a great result today, beating Liverpool 2-1. Get some good breathing space in the league, maybe looking up the table a little bit more now. Great win, really.
Yeah, tremendous, mate. Tremendous. I know it's been, obviously, I don't think we've covered them as much this season. You know, there's a lot to talk about with the men's team. And, we're not, not that we don't love all things about Villa. We mentioned, obviously, the youth teams as well. But for where that team was to now have, obviously, as you said, a bit of a gap. It's a better goal difference, and it's 4 points now on Palace. But the thing I saw when I looked at it earlier was obviously you see that form table, and you've always got that little line with the next to the most recent result, and it's loss, 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 one. Loss, loss, one. 5 losses and 1 win. And that's the hockey stick curve, isn't it? Like hopefully now it's and a great win, 1-0 down to a decent team.
Yeah.
Obviously Liverpool are sort of mid-table, but then they've been a lot better this season. I think they've sort of been around 5th and 6th for a bit of time, and there's always that top 4 is always levels above, isn't it? So, yeah, really, really good to see. Obviously, we've got a lot to play for, but it would be a bit of a downer, wouldn't it, if the men's team are doing so well, if the women's team would be to get relegated. So, hopefully that's over now.
Exactly. And finally, FA Youth Cup tomorrow night. Bear in the Garden just reminding us, semi-final of the FA Youth Cup against Manchester United at Villa Park. Make sure you get yourselves there if you can and support the lads. It'd be fantastic for them to win another FA Youth Cup this season. They've got some really exciting young players. We've seen some of them feature for the first team this season. Jimo Aloba, Ben Broggio, Aidan Borland. 1 or 2 others in there as well. Really, really good players. And, I do my Lions Den latest as well with Charlie, aka Academy AVFC. So he's buzzing about that tomorrow. So make sure you get yourself there if you can. And then I think they're playing in the Birmingham Senior Cup. I don't know if it's quarterfinals maybe on Tuesday night. So that's another big game for them, the youth team. And then obviously Brighton on Wednesday night for Villa, back in the Premier League. Huge game for Villa. So it's a massive week, Kev. Massive week for the club.
Huge, mate. Huge. And this is like we've said many, many times, it's going to be April very soon. And we're still in with a good shout of 3 competitions, not in terms of winning the Premier League, but in terms of getting something, significant out of that in April. Normally by this point, we're thinking, we're probably not going to get relegated. Can we finish 14th if it goes well? Then you play a big team. Remember those times when you play a big team and you knew you were going to lose? You just knew.
Yeah.
Oh, you got Liverpool, we're going to lose this. It's just absolute dreamland to be a Villa fan now. And for a season that for so long felt like stop-start, like it was it's not quite perfect and it's been disappointing. Players are off form. We couldn't ask for it to be better now. And I think many people have said this. Michael, obviously, he's a big supporter of the channel, always makes this point, doesn't he, about it's take every mile at a time on a marathon. And when you look across it, at the end of the marathon, when you finish where you finish, you don't necessarily know whether your 3rd to 6th mile was faster than your 15th to 18th mile. And when you look across the season, what would you rather have? I think I've made this point before. Would you rather win all of the games that you're going to win at the start of the season and then draw the ones you're going to draw, then lose the rest of them? Well, psychologically, that would feel terrible. If we can do what we've done in the past a few times before and get it right at the end of the season, we did it to get Conference League football. Obviously, we didn't do it to get Champions League last season. It went the other way, but we hung on. We did it to get promoted from the Championship. So we've done it before. We'll do it again. I think it was a chant we used to sing. And I just hope we can take this opportunity now because, for this squad of players, if we can get some success, I think you're more likely to keep some of them hanging around, and then you're more likely to get long-term sustained success. So big week ahead, Villa fans, and we're in an FA Cup semi-final, so enjoy it, smile at work, whether you're on your team's calls or you actually do go to an office these days, and get your claret and blue tops on your mugs, Villa mugs out, and have a bit of pride.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Right, we'll call it a night there. Thank you very much, Kev. Absolutely buzzing to be in the semi-finals, going to Wembley again to face Crystal Palace. And yes, as you say, a huge week ahead for the club, a huge few weeks ahead for the club. Make sure you smash that like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already on your way out. Help us on the road to 6,000 subscribers. As we say, we've got loads of shows coming up, hopefully doing a Talking Tactics with Gareth. Coming up this week, we've got Fans Forum / Brighton preview on Tuesday night, so make sure you stay tuned for that one as well. Instant reaction, hopefully successful instant reaction to Brighton, and then Forest previews, Brighton match reactions. I keep saying Brentford, Brighton match reactions. Loads and loads of shows coming up on the channel, so make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of your Sunday night, and as always, remember, we'll follow the Villa.